Hey, what's up out there, online community? And thanks for stopping by and checking out another segment of Straight No Chaser, where we talk sports and culture for fans, oftentimes with the fans. Now, tonight I've got a guest that I've been trying to get on my show for quite some time now. Shout out to Big Francois Wright for making a connection, making it happen. I'm very excited to talk basketball with former NBA player, Big Three star, Chicago basketball icon, Paul McPherson. Shout out to Paul McPherson for joining the show.
Sir, my brother, appreciate the platform, man. Appreciate the love and support, man.
Man, no doubt, no doubt. Now, this is a conversation that a lot of people have been waiting for. I had a lot of questions that have been forwarded to me. We're going to have some people tuning in and that are going to be asking, different questions. They might even give you a little ribbon, but it's always love in the shot. It's always love for the shot. And, we've got guys that are tuning in from all across the country. So before we get into it, we're going to do as we always do. It's customary. We're going to raise our glasses. And before we get into it, we're about to get into it. Straight No Chaser. Salute.
Salute. Cheers, brother.
Yes. So, Paul, one of the things that I want to talk about, and that is kind of your basketball background. Now, I look at myself as a basketball savant. I like to be tuned into the basketball scene, both here in Chicago and Illinois, Midwest, but then also on a national level. And you were one of the guys, for lack of a better term, that wasn't a household basketball name. Those that were in the know knew of you, but just for the average fan out there, can you talk a little bit about your basketball background and kind of your story in terms of how you developed your passion for the game and where the game is taking you?
Absolutely. As a kid growing up, I played a lot of sports. Baseball, Little League. I played football. I played basketball. You know, my parents tried to keep me active just to keep me out of trouble. Grew up in a rough neighborhood on the southeast side of Chicago, 75th and Dorchester. An area called Sircon City. Gangster Disciples is 3 other gangs within about 3 or 4 block radius. So my parents tried to keep me busy, man. I was into everything little. Once I got to high school, basketball kind of took over. I stuck with football and basketball, and I had to make a decision my sophomore year between football and basketball. My coach laid it out on the table for me. I was getting into fights and altercations on the football team because we had to go in certain neighborhoods. So, you know, I was always like a little rowdy, rough around the edges type of kid, man. We would fight a lot. And so the football coach was like, man, it's dangerous for you. I think you should stick with basketball. And I eventually chose basketball, but South Shore wasn't known for basketball. Like anybody who knows, you know, anything about my high school, we was known for football and we was known for fighting and gang banging, and a lot of people not graduating. So I went there because it was a neighborhood school, and I stuck with basketball. I got to play on varsity as a sophomore. I got to start and play in the Red South with Simeon and Morgan Parks and Carver, and I got to play against all the elite guys. So that helped me kind of pop my cherry early, you know, and by the time I realized I could compete, I just wanted to get better and work on my game. And I had a couple people I was chasing. Like at that time, Ronnie Fields was one of the best players walking. So he already had the city sold up. He was like a Michael Jordan type figure in the city as far as his lore and the people he played with. He played with Kevin Garnett, played with Michael Wright. So, you know, I had to chase. I was always chasing Ronnie. You know what I'm saying? Ronnie was the elite. Everybody knew him. And I just wanted to compete against him and show everybody I was just as good. So, you know, that was the beginning of the essence of me turning into the player I would later develop. But it all started for me at South Shore.
Well, it's interesting that you said that because my grandmother lived in the South Shore area. So she lived on 76 in Paxton, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
about
She was.
4 blocks
Yeah.
east of Jeffrey.
Yeah.
So through the summer, I would go to my grandmother's house and I would walk over over the South Shore. We played on outdoor courts out there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like you said, it was rough out there, but if you had game and you knew people, then they give you a pass for that.
Yeah.
But like you said, game banging, physical basketball. So I'm familiar with the South Shore area, although I'm a little bit older. You know, it was good games, it was competitive, but you better be ready to bring it. You know, and the
Facts.
fact that you didn't come from a traditional basketball school.
Yeah.
You know, that's cool, man. You know, so I can feel that mindset. I'm already here with you, brother. You know,
Yeah.
you got to be tough to play there.
I swear.
You know, so you talk a little bit about, you know, some of the guys, playing in the Red South and some of the schools. Did you have a rival coming up in the high school ranks? And with that individual rivalry, um, kind of what was that feel like? Because I tell people all the time, there's nothing like the Chicago Public League. I've never played the Public League, but I've talked to guys, I've been to games, and it's a whole different animal. What was that like playing in the Public League? And did you have a rival?
Oh my God, I definitely had rivals. My rivals changed almost every year. The first initial rival I had in basketball period was a guy named Brian Notary, played at Simeon, the University of Illinois. He left, transferred, and went to UIC, University of Illinois at Chicago. He was about my same height, 6'2", 6'3", could jump out the gym. I was a sophomore, he was a senior, so I got matched up with him early, and he was super athletic. So I knew that I had a lot of growth to do in my game when I first played him. And the second time I played him, I got a little bit better. I got a little more confidence. So, going to my junior year, I felt like, hey, if I can compete against Notre, I can compete against anybody. Going to my junior year, it was Ronnie Fields. It was chasing Ronnie Fields. Ronnie Fields was the best junior. Um, I was so far down on the totem pole. I told myself by the time I'm a senior, everybody in the city gonna know me. By the time my senior year came, I was still chasing Ronnie. At this time, Quentin Richardson was on the rise. He was a sophomore. Corey Maggette was a sophomore, and Bobby Simmons was sophomore. So I had, anytime I looked up, it was always another player coming that was elite. So I could just pick and choose, go through the Red South and pick and choose like anybody you wanted to play or anybody you wanted to chase or anybody you wanted to compete with. So I just thank God that I came up in the era I came up in. It was to me the last of real basketball. I mean, everybody supports that era and when they came, but
Yeah.
to me, the mid '90s was the last of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, physical. It was trash talking. It was, if you won some games, you might have to fight to leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, kids ain't going through that no more. Like, kids getting on the bus and they straight and they safe. Like, could you imagine having to fight after winning the game at Harlan or
Oh yeah.
at Finger? And Finger might got 10 people in the crowd and they school in last place. And because we beating them, we got to fight, leaving the Wild Hundreds. And we all from the South Side, 75th. So, man, a lot of things that happened, in Chicago and during that era and just playing basketball in that era helped mold me. But I definitely had rivals, and just thinking off the top of my head, Brian Notary, Ronnie Fields, and Quentin Richardson would be three that just came to name off the top of my head.
So staying on that high school track, you talked about having some tough rivals, and those are definitely some household names. People that they can relate to and say, "Wow, you know what? You got the best of them, or you held your own against those guys. Man, this guy's here to stay." Out of that group, who's probably your toughest matchup?
Oh,
Don't worry, it's just me and you. Nobody else nobody else watching, and nobody sharing the video.
at the time, in high school, and when we was always in high school, so considering Quentin and Corey Maggette was sophomores, I would say Ronnie Fields was my toughest matchup because he had he was ultra talented. Like, he was like Jordan, bro. Like anybody who didn't see him, you had to see him to see him. And at the same time, he had a huge machine behind him. Like, Nike knew him. He was the top player. He was going to Nike. Everybody who followed Garnett knew Ronnie was coming next. So he kind of had a head start on the limelight. And it was just tough. Like, athletically, we was always the same from the first time I ever met him. But to me, in my opinion, in high school, Ronnie was more polished than me. Like, I was rough around the edges. Ronnie was a better shooter. I probably defended and rebounded better, but to me, in my opinion, Ronnie was a notch above me, not just talent-wise, just the polishing and the system he was in, the coaches, the AAU experience, everything that he had. So for me, my biggest rivalry was Ronnie. Like, man, I was chasing him, man. I had to play against him. I had to prove to him that I could compete with him, and I just wanted to be just as good, if not better. So, for me, that was one of the guys who I chased. I had to chase his ghost.
Well, you know what? You definitely show improved because as you continue to play in high school, you got better. Your name started to ring out. Let's fast forward. Senior year, you're ranked in what class? What was your graduating class?
I graduated in 1996. I was
96.
the I was Ronnie Fields was Player of the Year. He got in a car accident. It was a kid named Michael Robinson from Peoria Central.
Yep.
Ended up replacing Ronnie in the McDonald's game, ended up going to Purdue. I was the third best player in 1996 in Illinois, and I ended up having to go play in the Magic Johnson Round Ball Classic. I never got to play in the McDonald's game, but man, my senior year, I had I felt like that was as close to me arriving as I could have did with what I had. I almost transferred to King. Like one of my good friends was a point guard at King at the time, a kid named Larry Holloway.
Yep. Yep.
And I hung with him every day, man. I was this close to transferring to King. I had met with Cox. I had went and got my transcripts, and I always wanted to go to King because like they uniforms and they had all the shoes, they had all the sneakers. Like they came in with Letterman jackets. Like that just felt like a real team, man. I went to South Shore. We digging through crates for Mitch Mac shoes. We don't got Reebok. We got Reeboks and King got Nike. So you know what I'm saying? Like man, I almost went, but I toughed it out and stayed at South Shore, man, and I was glad I did because it helped me, be able to have my own team, be able to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do at King or had I transferred anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think that's the pro and con that's one of the pros and cons of your situation because you can go to a story school like King or even potentially like a Simeon. You didn't have that. You weren't known for playing for one of those powerhouse, quote unquote, powerhouse schools, but you carved your own legacy at South Shore. So South Shore is synonymous with Paul McPherson, along with some of the other guys that have come out of South Shore, Mac Irvin,
That's
Reggie,
crazy,
guys like
man.
that.
That like to think of all the people that went there, and like people think basketball players from South Shore and they think me. That's just crazy, man. The irony of that. It's crazy.
Yeah. So fast forward, you say you were in the Magic Round Ball Classic. You weren't selected for the McDonald's All-American game, but talk about some of the guards that were just ahead of you on a national level, because I don't think people really grasp how good you were and how good that class was.
That class was tough, man. Some of the guards, point guard was Mike Bibby, was the first team point guard for the class for that year. There was another kid right behind him named Shaheen Holloway, went to Seton Hall,
Yes, sir.
coach, McDonald's All American. He was tough, man. Like I said, at the two, you had Ronnie got in an accident, so he missed the McDonald's game his senior year. But of course, Kobe, rest his soul. Steven Jackson. There was a kid named Shea Cotton.
Shea
Um,
Cotton.
it was just talent, man. It was a lot of talent at the shooting guard position. There was a kid named Renford Walton from Michigan, from Detroit. It
Yep.
was a lot of kids that was tough, man. And I remember all of these dudes to this day still because I consider myself, like a basketball almanac, a student of the game. Like I know people and who was ranked over me and who was good, and I kept up with people and everything. So the wings was elite then. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of guys that could play, man. Everybody was athletic. So by me coming from a small school, I didn't go to no Nike camps. I didn't do none of that. So I had to take kind of a back seat to those people until we got to college or until JUCO or whenever the next step from college was, you know what I'm saying, to the next time where we could compete. But I always had confidence and I always believed in myself no matter what anybody ever had me ranked.
And see, that was one of the things, even though you weren't as recognizable on a national level, and even sometimes here in the city, the one thing that, just even seeing you before I knew who you were, I'd see you out and about. I'm like, who is this big barrel chested guy? I mean, you just exuded confidence and you had a presence, so that goes a long way in helping you become better, but then also in your matchups with individuals, not so they don't take you lightly because you're not this name like the other guys, but you're still a force to be reckoned with. So that was huge.
Absolutely. I had learned from kids earlier. Like when I was young, I learned from a guy named Tony McCoy and another legend in Chicago named Brian Leach, who passed away. But these were two guys from my neighborhood who like almost tasted pro success. Like Leach would go at it with Tim Hardaway. Tony McCoy and Michael Jordan became great friends, but they first was rivals battling at Chicago State Pro-Am. So me being 10, 11, 12, going to watch these dudes play and then them taking me under my wing, it didn't matter that I wasn't ranked nationally by Taylor Bell or that I wasn't in the Sun Times because my local neighborhood heroes looked at me like, man, this kid gonna be something. So that's all I needed. And once they got me to working me out and people saw that one-on-one, I was a problem. Like I was super physical, I was quick, I was strong, and I had a 50-inch vertical, so I could like get anywhere at any time. So once I started to see that that worked against pros, against college players, against playground legends, I wasn't really never worried about, you know, what people thought about me. I just wanted to go out and prove wherever I went that I leave my mark, and that, you know, you would know I was there.
We know you hit on a couple things that I'm going to follow up on a little bit later, and that was the fact that you were a problem one-on-one. Because there's the things I want to touch base on when we start talking about the Nike Battleground series. That's when I really became familiar with Paul McPherson. I was like, that dude is a monster. He is a problem. And I will put you, and you know what?
Thanks, bro.
Argue with me. I put you as one of the top 5, if not top 3, one-on-one players to come out of Chicago ever. And that's a very small selected group. But the way that you held your own in that, you know, we'll talk a little bit about that because I watched that, and that was treacherous. That tournament,
you know, tough. It was, you know, a lot of people at that time. It was 32 people from Chicago that tried out for that. So if you think about 32 going to 16, 16 going to 8, 8 going to 4, 4 going to 2, you got to win 5 games in one day, and that's 10,000 a game. So I went one day and beat 5 people, and every time through it got tougher and tougher. I was the youngest person in the Battleground tournament at that time, but like I said, it was a good experience, man. I knew that like this was another chance for me to showcase, even though I was out the NBA when it first started, my 2-year run was up. I knew that I still could play, and I knew that I still had game, and I knew that this would be an opportunity for whoever was looking or anybody to see that I'm still playing and I still can compete. So, you know, it was a great opportunity, man. I lost the championship twice, the world championship. I lost it 2 years to 2 different guys both times. So, you know, that still haunts me 18 years later. But at the same time, both of those guys were legends in their own right. I lost the first championship to Junie Sanders by 3 points. He's a New York Brooklyn playground legend, 6'5", crafty. And the second one I lost to this French kid named Amaru Sa, who still plays professionally in the French. I don't know if he's in the French division anymore, but I definitely know he's still playing first division EuroLeague right now. So, you know, like I said, man, it was just a blessing to compete, but I played over probably 50 one-on-ones for money against people, and I lost 2, so that ain't that bad. And you're gonna lose. Like I tell people, man, it's a different game. Like the most talented person always doesn't win. It's about heart and it's about determination. But, you know, I was glad that I had a chance to put my hat in the ring and represent Chicago. And it took me a lot of places, and a lot of people saw that, and it still live in some people's memories today.
So, you know what, since we're talking about that, I watched the Battleground. I actually bought the DVD. So I watched it on, I think it was on VH1 or MTV when they were showing it.
He definitely was on MTV for 2 years straight.
So I went out and bought the DVD. So I watched you play. You know, so whatever royalty, you know, you got off of that, anything off of that, you know.
None, no royalties at all, man. So many people bought that DVD. We ain't get a dime off of that.
Oh man, I'm telling you, that was tough.
And y'all owe us on the residuals, Nike.
Exactly, yeah. Nike need to come out their pockets.
I swear, man.
But that guy, Amari C, that you were talking about, I think he ended up getting to work out with the Clippers, and he bounced around, had a couple trials.
Got to work out with the Clippers. Well, actually, the way that went, whoever won the second year, which he won, got a guaranteed trial for the Clippers. Because at that time, Mike Dunleavy Sr. was the coach of the Clippers, and he was the guy one of the guys hosting the Battleground. So he offered whoever won that Battleground that year a trial with the Clippers, and Amaru won. He beat me. He had a trial with the Clippers. Unfortunately, he didn't last. But like I said, man, it was a great opportunity, and it was a good vessel for him to get noticed, for me to get noticed, for all of us to even be in contact or be around somebody like Mike Dunleavy, who at the time was a coach and general manager of the Clippers.
Yeah, man, that's great. I want to take a step back. I want to roll this back for a minute. We've had some conversations, as basketball fans here in Chicago, because one of the things that you and several other Chicago basketball players did that hasn't been replicated in some time, we're not sure if we're going to see it again for some time, and that was you went from high school and played junior college ball, JUCO ball at Tallahassee
Yep.
Community College down in
Yep.
Florida,
Yep.
and then you made the decision to go to DePaul along with Lance Williams, Stephen
Yep.
Hunter, Bobby Simmons, Hugh Rich. Wasn't Amari Sawyer on that team as well?
Amari came the next year with Andre Brown, so I never got to play with Amari and Andre because I was only there for 1 year. So I
Okay, so talk
Amari
about that because
next year.
what went into that decision for you guys to come together and play at DePaul? First of all, playing at home where so many players go out of state or go to major power programs, especially when you're on that level of basketball capability. What went to that decision to stay local?
Well, I was one of the last ones to come on. I was a lot of people don't know this, but I was almost about to go to Cincinnati. My last two choices was between New Mexico and Cincinnati. Bob Huggins was real big on JUCO guys. He came and recruited me. I won the MVP of the Junior College All-Star Game. I was the National Player of the Year my sophomore year as a junior college player. So I was considered the number one wing player. There was a kid named Marcus Griffith who was considered the number one big man coming out of JUCO, went to Illinois from Peoria Central. So Quentin was the first one to go to commit, and then Bobby was second. Lance was third, and Lance was one of my good friends. So
Okay.
once they got them three together, I was like, oh wow, they coming together like they doing something special. They just missing a few pieces. So my sophomore year of JUCO was their first year at DePaul. So I didn't play a year with Quentin, Bobby, and Lance. Me and
Okay.
Steve came together, and Amari and Andre came the next year. So I saw them bring DePaul back and put DePaul on the map that year. They lost, almost made the tournament, but didn't. But I felt like they were just a piece or two away, and I felt like I was one of those pieces. But ironically, DePaul wasn't recruiting me. Now I'm already established in my mind at the time. They had a kid named Kerry Hartfield that they wanted, who was a shooter coming from
Okay.
Michigan. So they had already had this guy slotted in to be the shooting guard. And Tracy Dildy was a coach on that team at that time, was a mentor of mine. He kept recruiting me, saying, man, Paul, we're going to find a place for you to play. Don't worry about it. We just need you. You're going to be out there. And
Yeah.
everybody was like, well, what position is he going to play? Where is he going to fit? Quentin is this. Bobby is this. Where's Paul going to fit? You know what I'm saying? So I was worried about it. I was like, I'm not going. I'm going to Cincinnati. I'm work there. Huggy want me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't coming to DePaul. Man, Tracy Dildy came to my house, sat down with my mom for 2 days straight. That man wouldn't leave. And I felt something like I felt the sincerity in his heart, man. And I said, I'm coming. I called Lance. Lance called Quentin. Quentin called Bobby. Everybody called me. And it was like, man, we got the 7-footer from Proviso, Steve Hunter coming too. I was like, oh, it's starting to come together now. Like, so by the time we got there, man, it was like a dream come true. It was like the old DePaul team reincarnated. You know, Mark and Terry Cummins and Skip Dillard and Teddy Grubbs. They had 4 Chicago Public League players. So, you know, we had our 4, and I felt like it was kind of trying to like just bring the city back, man, and bring DePaul back, man. And I wanted to be a part of it. So, you know, I joined the circus and we took off, man. And next year was popping.
So talk about that. What was it like being a basketball star on campus? Because DePaul had had that for a while, and they haven't had that really up until this year. What was that DePaul basketball experience like? You rocking and rolling on campus, y'all on national TV. What was it like?
That was crazy. It was ironic because the Bulls sucked that year, right? So this was our test. Jamal Crawford rookie year, Brad Miller, Chandler, and Eddie Curry came there. So people was like, man, we want to see y'all play the Bulls. We think y'all could beat the Bulls. Like the city was just buzzing, bro. Like I tell all the kids now, if you got a chance to stay home and go home and play, man, please do it. There's nothing like it, bro. Like, man, that wave, man, to know that you was playing like how they have the arena now on the south side on 22nd in Michigan. I wish I
Yes.
could have played on 22nd in Michigan. My people was coming from 75th and Dorchester to go to almost O'Hare Airport by the Rosemont Horizon to watch us play our games. But I felt like a rock star. Like I just felt like, you know what I'm saying? I was in the NBA already, man. I was going around with pros. I was getting treated like pros. all our games was on ESPN. We in the newspaper every day, man. It felt like life couldn't get no better, man. If I got drafted, that was one of the best years of my life. That 1 year at DePaul, just playing college ball with all my brothers. Man. That was super dope.
Yeah, because we hear a lot about how, for example, cities like New York take care of their ball players. But a lot of those guys stay home or they come back. There's always that strong connection, but we rarely hear about the Chicago aspect of it. And I think what happened when you guys all went to DePaul and you played and you showed up and showed out, that was what it's about. That's what that Chicago basketball field, and more importantly, that Chicago basketball love is about. Being able to represent your city in the city for
That's
your.
what it was, man. We wanted to just rep our city, man. We was sick of seeing all our top players go to Duke and Kansas and Florida and Kentucky, and I still
Yeah.
feel the same way today. Like watching DePaul, I hate to see the top Chicago talent going to Kentucky and Kansas and all these other places when I feel like DePaul or Illinois should be viable choices for the elite in Chicago and Illinois every year. But that's neither here nor there, and that's another topic to discuss.
Yeah.
But at my time, in my opinion, I just wanted to rep my city, man. And DePaul wasn't nothing popping like DePaul at that time. So I
Yeah.
just threw my hat in the ring, and I knew I'd be able to play, and it all worked out, man. Lucky.
And I think you hit it on the head because there was a void in basketball. The Bulls weren't relevant. U of I was going through
Yeah,
challenges with their program. So you
everybody
guys
was.
stepped in at the perfect time.
This is the perfect time, and that's the irony of God. I feel like in just life, you know what I'm saying? Like I had trepidation, and I wasn't even gonna go there at the time, but God worked in mysterious ways, man, and the fact that I went there propelled me to get to the NBA, and I probably might would have never had a chance to even get dressed or play one day in the NBA if I chose something else. So I'm thankful for that.
So let's talk about that. So you decide you leave DePaul and you go undrafted,
Mm-hmm.
but you had teams that were looking at bringing you in as a free agent. You signed with the Warriors.
Signed with the Suns initially for
Suns. Okay, Suns.
a 2-year deal. Um, I went undrafted, put my name in the draft, sat there and watched the whole draft, the 2000 draft. And
What
my
was that
name.
experience like watching that?
It was humbling, man. It was super humbling experience. It was a roller coaster ride of emotions. First you anxious, and you getting calls from your agent saying such and such interested. We might get a look here, we might get a look there, and then you see a round going and another guy getting picked, and another guy getting picked. So for me, I went like up, down, up, down. I had a little small group of people at my mom's house. So, we had a little gathering. It was like a draft party. We was ready to, celebrate and all be excited. By the time the first round ended, I'm starting to, get upset now. And people hugging me like, you okay? You gonna get drafted? And I just I felt like I was shrinking in the chair, like further and further
Yeah.
down as my name didn't get called. So midway through the second round, my agent called me and he said, Phoenix is interested in you. They got a pick. They're gonna take a big man, but they want to invite you to the camp.
Okay.
And so that was how that worked out. That came about. I didn't get drafted. I got invited to the Utah Rocky Mountain Review, which was the summer league at that time. It wasn't in Vegas.
Yep.
I went and led the league in scoring over Dirk Nowitzki. Sean Marion was on my team. Steven Jackson was playing in that summer league, and I was the leading scorer out of everybody in that summer league. So coming from that, I signed a 2-year deal, undrafted, which is still unheard of to this day for a kid to get undrafted and sign a 2-year guaranteed deal off of a summer league performance. But that's how my story went, and I happened to sign a 2-year deal with Phoenix. I got traded midway through my first year to Golden State for Vinny Del Negro, who later coached the Bulls. But yeah, that was it was just a quick stint, 2 years, 180 games. But coming from where I come from, if you get to play one game in that league, man, you made it, and that's a blessing. So, I was grateful for the 2 years I had. Met a lot of people, man, and got a chance to etch my name in a book that nobody could ever take away from me. Is
Absolutely.
being a kid that played in the NBA and coming from the streets. Like everybody knows me, knows I came from the alley, like literally like the streets. So, it was a good opportunity, man, and I was blessed to even, say I had the opportunity to play.
So you continue. So you went from DePaul to your NBA career, and then you played for several different leagues and teams. Can you? And not a lot of people understand what the experience is like when you go from being. First off, let me ask you, as an NBA player, what was that experience like? And then in comparison, some of the experiences that you had playing with some of the semi-pro or non-NBA or overseas basketball teams. Kind of what was the contrast between the NBA experience and then some of these other leagues?
Oh, well, for me, I was in awe with the NBA, man. Like, it was a dream. I grew up in Chicago, so those three-peats that MJ and them was on, that was the midst of my prime coming up, 91, 92, 93, 96, 97, 98. That lit the basketball fire. So by the time I got to the NBA in 2000, MJ and Pip was still in the NBA. Pip was on Portland. MJ was on the Wizards. Ewing was on the Sonics. So this was all weird to me growing up as like, I was fans of these rivalries, Chicago, New York, Chicago, Detroit.
Yeah.
So when I got to the NBA and like, man, I can remember clear as day, I called my dad, first time I'm playing against Jordan in the NBA. I had played against Mike in Chicago plenty times, but the NBA and the arena is different. So I'm literally in the back, like probably the 7th or 8th man, but I know I'm gonna get some time tonight. Bro, I couldn't even really swallow. Like before the game, I'm so dry, I'm so nervous. Like, so I run out there, man. I remember this like yesterday, man. MJ taps me on my butt as I come in and say, man, welcome, man. I'm glad you're here first game, but I'm finna put these buckets on you real quick. So I fouls him the first 2 plays. He got it, man, and I ended up scoring 5 points. MJ had about 18 on our team. But this is 39, 38-year-old Mike. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This wasn't the Mike we grew up on, but I was still in awe. Like being in the NBA, you got to get over the awe factor immediately. Like Shaq, Kobe, David Robinson, some of the people I saw, I sat on my couch and would come home from school and watch these people early. So initially I was a fan looking at these dudes like, man, I'm on the same court with these boys.
Right.
You get over that quick. Soon as Shaq or somebody block your shot to the stands, or somebody let you know, like, man, this ain't for play. We ain't friends out here. But initially, first going, man, I was in awe. I couldn't close my mouth and get my mouth off the ground. I couldn't believe that I had made it. Like, I couldn't even stop to breathe. Like, I made it. Like, it was just everything was happening so fast, bro. Like those 2 years felt like 2 months, literally. Like, dealing with finances and monies you never had, so many off the court issues, family wanting money. You got to pay back agents. You got a credit line where you ain't even got to touch nothing. You just get money and cars and houses for free. And I thought at that time, like, oh, this is sweet. Like, you going to give me some money now? And like, I ain't signed a contract or got a check or nothing. Not knowing as soon as my first check come, all that money getting paid back. The agent getting all his money back. So,
right.
I grew up real quick, learned a lot of lessons, man. But initially going, I was in awe. I was a fan, just like anybody else. I was a 20-year-old kid in the NBA playing with grown-ups.
And see, here, I've never played in the NBA, but I know how I would react. If I was sitting on the bench and then I know I'm about to go in to play against MJ or Patrick Ewing, my first frame of reference is, okay, what's the cheat code on NBA 2K? What do I do? Do I hit XXO when I get out there to the court? How am I going to handle this?
Bro, I was so worried about just not messing up the play and like trying to do whatever the coach said. I can remember my first game I started was against the Indiana Pacers. Penny Hardaway got hurt. Mario Ellie was hurt. Both of those guys were the 2 guards in front of me. So they wanted this kid named Tony Delk from Kentucky to keep coming off the bench. So they started me. I had to guard Reggie Miller. So they give me a packet on Reggie Miller, even though I consider myself a savant. I know damn well who Reggie Miller is and what he do, right?
Right.
It was this particular play he ran. He had an option to go either way off 2 screens. Both of the guys screening with the Davis boys, Dale Davis, Theo Davis. So this like running into a brick wall. So I watched this play. Scott Skiles was my coach. He sat me down at film and said, this is the Reggie Miller play. Don't get beat off this play. You get beat off this play, you coming out. So I'm so worried about not getting beat off this play. Reggie Miller doing everything else but that play. He flaring on me. He jab stepping me, V cutting. Oh my God, he killed me. He was one of the first people that just scored on me so easy. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I might not be ready. Like going back doubting myself, bro. Like I might not be ready. And it took somebody who raised me and grew up with me to tell me that you got to get your ass kicked in order to understand what you got to prepare for. You know what I'm saying? So from that day forward, I tried to attack Reggie, Kobe, everybody, even though I was nowhere near the players that there was. It was just a mentality to let them know that, you know, if I'm guarding you, it's going to be hard. And I want you to know that you're going to have to work, man. So, you know, those are some of the lessons I picked up. And it humbled me real quick because even the dudes who wasn't on Reggie Miller level, like, I had problems with them dudes at first. Katino Mobley,
Mm.
Nick Van Exel. I can still remember me thinking I was a really good defender, and those guys was doing whatever they wanted the first time I ever played them. So it was humbling, man, and let you know that you need to work on your game and get in the lab. But at the same time, you know, to see yourself on video games and on Xbox and PlayStation and stuff like that, like, man, it was all worth it, bro. It was all worth it.
Yeah, I think you touched on it because I was going to ask you, you know, what was your welcome to the NBA moment? You talked about one of them, definitely guarding Reggie Miller, the situation guarding Jordan.
I had several welcome moments at first because I didn't understand how the NBA worked. You know what I'm saying? I thought if you came in and you worked and you practiced, you would play. I had no idea of it's a hierarchy
Yep.
and it's players who don't even have to practice that's gonna get in before you regardless, just based on what they did in their career prior to them coming. So, like I said, another moment I had was going to practice every day, and the vets on my team wasn't practicing. Penny,
Mm-hmm.
Mario, Ellie, but they all played the position I played, and I had to practice. I had to get there early. I had to stay late. I had to do all the extra stuff. I had to get donuts. I had to wash their cars. Like I had to do stuff that I thought was just, I thought they was just picking on me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand that it's a process and you got to wait your turn.
Right.
So I'm playing extra hard in practice, bro. Like dudes is just chilling, just not waking up. They just going through the motions. Man, I'm denying the half court because I'm thinking this is gonna get me in the games. Like so, you know, I'm going off. And in practice, you can see the flashes. I'm scoring, I'm dunking, I'm taking off, I'm doing everything. In the games, I never played. I can remember my first year, I might have set the first 20 games and
Mm.
did not play. So at that time, I started falling off in practice. I'm not coming there as anxious early. I'm not doing as much all the time. This is really hurting me in the eyes of the coach, but I'm in my feelings about sitting 20 games and
Right.
not knowing that I'm not playing, even though I'm an undrafted free agent and there's people that got drafted that's supposed to play in front of me. So, you know, I learned lessons, man. There was a lot of lessons that I learned, a lot of humbling experiences. And once I found out that I can fit and I can play, I scored 20 and a half in the NBA. I scored 12 straight and 14 straight for two different teams. So I felt like I was showing flashes, you know, but I
Yeah.
just couldn't get consistent and reach my potential. But you know, everything not meant for everybody. So you know, I just think that it was meant for me to just get a taste of it and continue to do what I did later in life. But just the fact to say that I had that chance and I got some checks from two different teams and I made a few video games, man, and a few magazines is more than enough for me, man. But it was definitely humbling though.
Yeah. Shout out Penny Hardaway. I was actually down in the University of Memphis. I was at his house for an event last September. One of the coolest cats I've come across.
Coolest dudes ever, man. I moved in with Penny. Penny didn't even know me on the strength of somebody else.
Really?
I signed with Phoenix and I didn't have a house yet. I was staying in a hotel. Penny had a huge house in Phoenix. He let me stay in his guest house and let me drive two of his cars for like 3 months. And he had never even knew me, just saw me playing in the summer league and saw that I was signed on the team and moved me in his guest house and gave me two vehicles, man. So, you know, he great brother, man. Great brother. Man.
Sounds just like Penny. Sounds just like Penny.
I'm just the guy right here in the truth. Anybody know Penny? Anybody know any? This story is 100% true, bro. Gave me keys. I had access to his personal chef. He had slapped me a few hundreds. Even though I'm a rookie in the NBA getting paid, man, I left something for you. It'd be $200-300 just to, man, go have yourself a good time, bro. And it was just, man, I never had nobody like take to me like that, man. And I still remember Penny to this day for doing that, and I still keep in touch with him to this day.
Yeah, that sounds, man, that sounds just like the penny I know. Like I said, it's super cool, brother, man. I'm glad to hear you had that same experience or a better experience.
Yeah.
So, so now you're out the NBA. You're playing other teams, other you played overseas. What is the overseas experience like? Because people in their minds they think, well, if I'm not going to play basketball in the NBA, I'll just go overseas and play and make money. What's the overseas experience like?
Overseas not as easy as everybody think. It's great for the tax-free dollars you get and the opportunity you get, but overseas was physical. I had a lot of altercations, life-threatening situations, people attacking your bus, people attacking your team, people
Wow.
people let dogs out on us coming through the canopy, like the tunnel where you get introduced. They literally let the dogs go in our tunnel, like toward us. And,
What?
bro, Italy, man, was some of the most racism, some of the craziest racism I ever experienced in my life. Sicily, Italy, is in the bottom of Italy with all the mafia. Was some of the craziest racism I experienced ever. But I also had times in Greece and in Russia where I felt like a king. So the experience overseas helped me become more of a man than the NBA ever did. I was on my own. I had to adjust to a foreign language. I had to learn how to deal with my own finances.
Hmm.
I had to prepare my own food and cook for myself. And it basically taught you how to be self-sufficient. Nobody would wake you up. Nobody would help you do anything. You was the American and you had to figure it out on your own, man. So I say this to say that overseas is a if you can't play pro, well the G League is coming up now. So, most guys won't have to run overseas as quickly, but at the time when I had to go, man, overseas was popping, man. It was lit. The guys was getting fat contracts and now they still getting those same contracts. So I would always suggest going to play overseas. The competition is you can't get that competition anywhere but the NBA.
Yeah.
So, this is one of the things that helped me. I played in the Euro League. I played in the first division in Italy, France, and Greece for 7 years. Played for the Harlem Globetrotters. I played in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I got to go see some of the seven wonders of the world, things that I would have never done had I stayed just in America or just stayed in the NBA. I probably would have never done those things. So overseas was a part of my story and a part of me as well. And it all helped me mold me to be the person that I am.
And I think you hit on something, and that is basketball was a tool and a vehicle that you use to get education, to get finances, but then also to get and gain experiences. Basketball is taking you across the world. So you've been able to utilize and maximize that as the vehicle to help you grow as a person, but then also to broaden your horizon and broaden your vision, your experiences, and things like that. And I think that's one of the things that we have a lot of younger ball players that watch the show or share it. And this is one of the things that I try and communicate to them, and that is just because you don't make it as a professional doesn't mean that you're not successful. Just because you don't make it to the NBA doesn't mean that
Yeah,
you're not successful in that
yeah.
sport, because there are other levels, and success is relative
And
to what it is.
tell kids, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I
Oh, go
tell
ahead.
anybody that pay you to play basketball, you're a pro. You might not necessarily be an NBA pro, but
Hello.
you have to work a real 9 to 5 job. Because once you do that, bro, ain't no turning back. Them 9 to 5 jobs is hard. Like I have a totally different respect for all the people around me and in my family that sacrificed and worked hard. Because once you have to go to the real work world and punch a clock and report to a boss, man, you'll wish you was overseas playing, bro. You gonna wish it. You gonna wish it. So I say that to say this, man. Use basketball. Don't let basketball use you. You
Absolutely.
you temporarily just gonna be in college, or you might temporarily be in the NBA. But the people you meet off basketball and the networking, that could be lifelong relationships and lifelong friendships, and that could develop into so much more. Which I'm just not figuring out now. Some of the people who I affected while I was at DePaul, people that I didn't even know like my game or watch me reached out to me and have businesses and want to help me do stuff just off basketball. You know what I'm saying? And it's an audience and a group of people I would have never reached. So my words to kids would be to use basketball. Don't let basketball use you.
Absolutely. So I think that's a great segue to the next point that I want to get into. And I want to get into the Chicago basketball scene. I want to talk a little bit about that because when I first, outside of the DePaul experience, I really saw you rocking and getting down at IIT.
Yeah,
That's when Paul
absolutely.
McPherson made the name for himself. You know, that's when you get the household name. Talk about, because a lot of people, and I've been fortunate enough, I travel a lot, just for different things. I also participate in fantasy camps, so I play against a lot of ex-athletes, a lot of high-level coaches and things like that. So I travel, so I get a chance to see different cities. I've had a chance to go to the Rucker to see what that experience was like. Although the day I went, the shorties weren't playing. There wasn't a lot of the old heads out there. We got there early. My girl and I, we went up there for a wedding, and we got there early because the wedding was later on in the evening. But you can feel the energy, you can feel the vibe. But people don't really understand what Chicago's IIT Pro-Am was like, man. Talk about what that was like. That's when I was like, who is this dude? And why does he look like he has two seedless watermelons on the back of his legs? Because I'm looking at your calves jumping out the gym. I'm like, he has two seedless watermelons on the back of his legs, man. Talk about IIT.
Right, they said it looked like my legs swallowed two light bulbs. Like, man, it was so many
Two light
jokes.
bulbs.
It was so many jokes and things people had. But just to speak on IIT really quick, man, that was the mecca for me. The NBA wasn't the mecca for me. That was my NBA. Like,
yeah,
I got a chance before IIT to see games at Chicago State when I was really, really little. Michael Jordan, Mitchell Anderson, Reggie Theus, some of those guys, I watched those guys in 1987, 86, the year Jordan broke his foot. So I was a baby. I didn't know what I was watching, but I knew it was an event. So fast forward to the Pro-Am before IIT, which was De La Salle.
De La Salle, yep.
Right before IIT, they had the Pro-Am at De La Salle. And now I'm a baby teen. I'm a tot now. I'm in the midst of Tim Hardaway, Juwan Howard, a young Antoine Walker. So by the time it got to IIT, I was coming out of high school. It was my time. All I wanted to do was get to IIT and show the city that I could do anything I wanted to do. And at the time, it was only two high school players playing at IIT, Ronnie Fields and Michael Herman.
Yep.
So once I became the third one, I knew the pressure was on, you know what I'm saying? And in my first game, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I played against Michael Finley. I had 18 points. I came off the bench, had a couple of I was like, I made it. Like, I felt like if you can go to IIT and get that what? Anybody from
Yes,
Chicago
sir.
know that when that starts up, that means it's time to go. So somebody will come down and score on somebody and do a nice move. And then the other person come back and score. That's when the what would come in. So
Yes, sir.
The whole gym would be buzzing. What?
Yeah.
As you bringing the ball up the court, like you could just feel, bro, it felt like I was floating. Like, I swear it felt like I didn't have legs. Like, I was just floating. And once I started to just maneuver and find my niche and people started to know me, man, it was over, bro. Like, IIT was it for me. I didn't want to, I could have not went to the NBA and played at IIT the rest of my life and would have been straight, bro. Like, that was my mecca. I got to see Antoine Walker, Juwan Howard. I can name off the top of my head probably 10 pros that came every weekend and played. Harper, Ron Harper, Randy Brown, Pete Myers, Antoine Walker, Juwan Howard, Michael Finley, Tim Hardaway. Pros who wasn't pros like Michael Herman, Brian Leach, just guys, Donald Whiteside, just
Yes,
so many people that I got to see and play against, bro. Like, just if you could get mentioned in the group with them people, I felt like I was cool, like I was straight. Like, and I had some crazy games and some crazy events take place at IIT, and that kind of helped me like solidify who I was and put myself on the map, like as far as like, you know, the big picture of Chicago basketball.
So we're gonna jump into it. The biggest IIT moment, one that's the most talked about out of everybody that I know. I'm gonna throw shout out to Francois Wright, the big Frenchman, Derek Anderson, David King. Oh man, we talk about this all the time. That matchup with Vince Carter. So let me take you through my experience of it.
Right.
That was 4th of July weekend. Look, I won't forget. It was 4th of July weekend.
Birthday was July 3rd. It definitely was 4th of July weekend.
Yep. So I'm there Thursday, I'm there Friday, I'm there Saturday. I'm sitting there kicking it. I think you know Benny Henry from the support group.
You know Benny, man. Yeah. Benny, my man.
Yeah, so we sitting there kicking it, we chopping it up. Vince is there the whole weekend. Vince Carter is there the whole weekend. But, you know, I'm talking to Benny. Benny's like, yeah, I'm gonna get Vince to play, and you know how Benny is. So we chopping it up. I'm like, man, wait a minute. I'm there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm like, you know what? Vince is just sitting here. First of all, Vince got a girl for every need. I think that's how he keeps his knee useful because he had a girl for every need. Two nice honey butter looking, look like honey butter.
He knew, he showed you he was an NBA pro.
Yeah, and he sat there with two girls, one on each knee. That's how he keeps his knees healthy. Put a girl on each knee. But man, Vince was there, and I'm like, okay, he hasn't played Thursday, he hasn't played Friday, he hasn't played Saturday. You know what? Sunday, I'm gonna just chill. Next thing I know, man, I get a phone call. Vince is playing. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. There was no way I was gonna make it down there. Plus, get inside to see the matchup with you and Vince Carter. Take us through the matchup with you and Vince Carter because that is the most talked about moment in IIT history. And I will say this: there are people, Francois Wright, Big Frenchie, and others that have said, I'm not going to IIT anymore because I have seen it all. This was enough for me. Talk to us about what that experience was and how that matchup went.
Man, it was crazy. So I had played for Cold Black at the time, which was a team ran by my guy, Carl Harris. And everybody knew Vince was there. Like you said, Vince had popped up a couple days and he didn't play. So, everybody knew that Vince was in town and that Vince was supposed to be playing. So somehow he missed every game except the game against my team. And I don't know if that's because I was the high flyer, I was the high wire act. Like everybody had known me for dunking in Chicago, and I easily was the best dunker and the highest flying person in Chicago, including Ronnie Fields, right?
Yes, sir.
So at that time, if you remember IIT, you had to go down the steps for all the teams. So we all in one locker room. Now, there's nothing but lockers dividing us. So I can hear the other guys hyping Vince up, like, oh yeah, Vince here. Oh man, somebody finna be in trouble. And they talking to the team. So my coach, Carl Harris, coaching Cold Black, is yelling over the Benny and them team, whoever Vince playing for. Man, I got the highest flyer in the city in this gym too. So it starts in the basement in the locker room before the thing. So we coming up the steps, bro. I swear to God, I've never seen this happen anywhere in the world. And it never happened to me again since IIT. We warming up in the warm-up line. My team on one end, this team on the other end. I throw the ball up. I'm initially finna kick off dunking immediately. I throw the ball up as high as I can. It might have bounced about a free throw maybe. I'm near half court. I catch it, lean in, cock it back, and dunk it so hard it sounded like somebody was shooting. The gym erupted. Everybody started going crazy.
Yes, sir.
Down at Vince. And this kicks off the what? Vince come down, put his arm in the rim. Hang on the rim. The dunk he did in the dunk contest.
Yes, sir.
The crowd go crazy. Now it's back on me. So everybody waiting on me to come back around in the warm-up line. I do like a double pump backwards windmill, dunk. Ooh. Vince throw it off the backboard, catching and cocking and dunking. The third time I got up to do my layup in the layup line, my whole team was sitting down. So it's 12 of us on the team, 11 people sitting down for me to dunk. I look down, Vince's whole team sitting down and waiting on Vince to dunk.
Oh, so man.
2 or 3 dunks, we had a dunk contest. I didn't miss a dunk, Vince ain't miss a dunk. And I was doing, like, I felt so hyped, bro. Like, I could just jump to the moon. I literally had the highest flying person in the world that anybody knows of in Chicago at IIT going at it with him dunk for dunk. This before the game even started. So it's already a buzz. Like, the gym going crazy. Nobody warming up. It's just buzzing. The game starts. I remember this like it was yesterday. Vince had 47. I had 42. We lost to Vince and them. But Vince was already an NBA player.
Right.
I was leaving DePaul at this time, trying to go.
Okay.
I wasn't a pro yet. I was announcing I was leaving DePaul to go pro.
Gotcha.
Vince was already a pro. This was the summer before he did the infamous dunk contest in Oakland. So he doing all these same dunks, bro.
Yeah.
So the game started, man. We had a guy named Grant who was like a security, and he's about 6'8". So Vince come down and dunked on him from like the dotted I had a little illegal move that I did, like a behind the back carry move that was a crossover though. So I hit Vince with like my little illegal move. He bit on it. I behind the back crossed him, went baseline and dunked it. Told Jimmy Ruffin. Like, and it just kept carrying on, bro. Like it felt like an out of body experience. Like I was there. You had to be there to be there. Like people tell stories about this, and to this day, everybody that knows me always say, man, the best I ever seen you play, when I knew you was there and you arrived, was that game with Vince. So that kind of like, you know, that stamped me, no doubt. That made me, that solidified, you know, whatever part of my legacy was gonna be solidified. I came and stood up. We went toe to toe. I have 40. I knew that I could score on him. Like, so I felt like, man, shit, I should be able to go pro too. Like, if he could do this and I could do this here, I could do this with 50,000 people watching. But it just felt like I had the whole Chicago behind me because that was my city.
Yes.
This was from Florida. You know what I'm saying? So even though he had the hype and the name, I felt like this is my town. I'm the highest flying person in this town. Well, nobody jump higher than me here. So, you know, it was like a pride and ego thing. And it turned out to be, you know, one of the best moments in my life. And ironically, who I had the 20 and a half in the NBA with was against Vince.
Right.
In Toronto, I just still felt that wave. Like I knew I could get past him and attack the basket. So, you know, those was all good times, man. Shout out to Vince, man. Shout out to Benny and the support group.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jones and IIT and everybody who ran that thing, man. Some of the best times of my life, man. And just, you know, proud to say I was a part of some of the legends and the stories that came through IIT, man. I got a chance to be a part of it.
And it's one thing, you know, when you know it and you feel it, but when you hear other ball players talk about it.
Yeah, that's when you.
I was just on the thread the other day. Francois Wright had one, and Jonell Sloan. He was talking about. He was like, "Man, do you remember XYZ?"
Dang, boy, Sloan was so cold.
Yeah, I was actually on the phone earlier with one of your IIT teammates, Chauncey Jones. I was on the phone with him earlier. Shout out Chauncey. He's gonna be on the show in a couple of weeks, man. Chauncey was like, "Man, that time when Paul and Vince went at it, he was hyped on the phone earlier today, like." It was like it just happened, you know. So
I still remember like it was just happened. That was almost 21 years ago.
Yeah, man, has it been that long?
It was 2000.
Wow. Okay.
2020, bro. That definitely was that summer, 99, 2000 summer, bro.
And that's why when I say, you know, I use the term, and I don't throw this around lightly, but I use the term basketball icon because your legacy in Chicago is cemented. The ball players know you. The hustlers know you. The coaches know you. The ladies know you. You've got that. Your legacy is solidified. No matter where you go, your name rings out. People will know Paul McPherson, whether it was from your experience at DePaul, but more importantly, man, the show that you put on the IIT. I'll tell you when I was just like, okay, I'm done. And that was when you and Notary had that dunk contest.
Yeah.
And now mind you, now you see people doing it kind of on the regular. But back then, jumping over a couple people in a dunk contest, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And then people running on the court, I'm like, oh man, see, this is something extra.
I remember that too, man. Shout out to my guy Note, man. Note's still around, man. He in Texas too. I remember that dunk contest against Notre. I lined up 3 people, and I threw the ball up, jumped up over them, and windmilled it. And 2 of them was my teammates, and they was nervous. I'm like, man, so y'all would be nervous. All the dunks y'all see me doing, all the practices now. I can't get y'all to come out here and let me jump over y'all. He's like, man, I don't want to get kicked, bro. Like, I ain't gonna kick you, bro. I ain't gonna kick you. But I remember that. I remember that too, man. I remember so many stories that people don't even know. Like, I went on the West Side. Anybody that played on the West Side, there was a tournament outside called Delano. It was in the back of a grammar school and was no lights. Everybody pulled their cars up. So this was the first time I caught Ronnie Fields after the neck injury, after me playing Vince. So I'm like super souped up. Like now, like I'm like, ooh, I got you now. It's not 96. It's not high school. This is like 98, 99.
Right.
Called Ronnie at Delano. Man, we put on a show, bro. Michael Herman was on Ronnie's team. I had a kid, Joel Bullock, play with me. Mm-hmm. He was super tough. Man, we went out there, bro. And from that point on, like, I got picked by the West Side guys to go play money games out west, and everybody knew I was a South Sider. Right. So it was, man, just so many stories, man. I wish we could find a way to get through them all and have time to discuss them, man. But it was definitely great times. And I'm just appreciative to be part of, the history of Chicago basketball. No one person will ever dominate it, but I'm just happy to be a page in a chapter, man. Somebody you can look at and say, man, he was like Zion before Zion.
Yeah. Well, you answered a lot of the questions that people have thrown at me. You know, one of the questions I was going to ask, you've answered that, and that is, what was most satisfying, saying that you're an NBA player or having your name in the Chicago lore of basketball, being mentioned as one of those greats? What would you say is most satisfying for you?
For me, definitely NBA, because that's the ultimate. But I hold to my heart dearest the fact that the people in Chicago respected what I did. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to be noticed by your peers, and you want to be noticed by the place that birthed you. So, looking back at it, they still talking about me 20 years later, and some of the things that they still, bringing up shirts and murals and who jumped higher and who did this. So just to know that you left a mark, you know what I'm saying? If God forbid something was to happen to me today, I feel like, I left my mark on Chicago basketball.
Yes, sir.
Not just being a person that went to the NBA. Like, I love my city. Like, I rep Chicago. Anybody that knows me, I go, I'm Chicago crazy. So I just wanted to put on for my city, man, and be one of the dudes that was one of the elites at a certain point in time. You know what I'm saying? And I consider myself a basketball almanac, a historian. So I know the stories of people before and after me. I know the pitfalls. And I just, want to pass some of those gifts on to the kids that's out here trying to go forward and start basketball for a career for them now.
So if you have one solid piece or one solid suggestion for younger basketball players that are coming through the pipeline, high schoolers looking to play colleges, or college guys that are kind of trying to find their way beyond what basketball is going to look like for them beyond college. If you have one sound piece of advice, what would that be?
I would say to use basketball because it prepares you for life. Like, it's synonymous with the things that happen in basketball, prepare you for life. So it's going to be rejection in basketball. It's going to be disappointment. You're going to be let down. There's going to be adulation. There's going to be excitement. You're going to cry from tears of joy and tears of pain. So all things that's going to happen in your life. So you use these as stepping stones to prepare you for life and learn how to deal with life. And that's one of the things that I've learned through all my trials and tribulations, bro. I made some mistakes, wasn't perfect, got caught with guns and drugs, got shot. I did a lot of stuff that I shouldn't even dealt with or even been involved with. But as a man, you got to come to terms with some of the things you did to put yourself in the position that you was in. So basketball taught me how to accept responsibility for my actions and everything I've done, be accountable, and not to blame anybody for your mistakes. And I would just say, use basketball as a tool. Like I said, man, use it. If it can get you, somebody want to pay you to play basketball, take that opportunity and use it, man. You might get to go to Mexico. You might get to go to a place you've never been before. You might meet people you've never seen before. You're going to come across some stuff that you wouldn't normally get to come across if it wasn't for basketball. So the basketball guys will take care of you if you love the game and prepare and practice and do the things right. But if you cheat the game and you try to shortcut the game and you want to do it for money or you want to do it for fame, it's going to come back to you and it's going to bite you in the ass. Because I never chased basketball for fame or for money. I just wanted to be known as somebody who could compete and play in my city. That's it. And it just so happened to be that it turned into what it turned into. And I'm appreciative of that. But at the same time, man, you gotta use basketball, man. You gotta use it to get where you need to be. For any kid.
Great point. So before I let you go, and again, I'm very appreciative of your time. Before I let you go, I do a segment called Rapid Response, where I ask you a question and you give me the first thing off the top of your head, your first answer, rapid response. So I'm put you on the spot. You ready for it?
Let's do it.
All right. Let me ask you, what's a better feeling as a basketball player? Crossing somebody over and watching them fall, or dunking on somebody and putting them in the basket?
The better feeling for me is dunking on somebody. But
somebody?
As a player, I would rather be crossed than dunked on any day.
That was gonna be my next question.
A reach and foul, but it like dunked on is just oh my God, that's just disrespectful.
Who have you ever been? Let me ask you, how many? Name somebody that we would know that's dunked on you. Have you been dunked on? And if so, name somebody we know that's dunked on you.
Ronnie Fields tip dunked on me at Malcolm X in the summer. I didn't remember the year. That might have been 1995, the summer. So we playing South Shore against Farragut. The winner, we won Kennedy King, and we had to go to Malcolm X to play the winner who won Malcolm X. So it was 2 games. And I was on Ronnie. I turned and went to go chase the rebound. I remember this like it was yesterday. I went up for the rebound, and Ronnie got a running start, just caught it and dunked it right over my back. Boom.
Oh, man.
Ever got dunked on. In the NBA, Shaq dunked on me, Kobe, dunked on a few times in the NBA, but I dunked on some people in the NBA too. But Ronnie was the first person that dunked on me, like just caught me. It wasn't body to body, but he caught me.
Okay.
So we got to give bro a shout out for that. But man, know that I caught him back a few times. And definitely caught the repercussions of that. But Ronnie was one of the first people that caught me for sure.
So I'm gonna follow up on that question. Have you ever been in a game where you said, you know what? Either it's been the matchup who's been in front of you, or somebody's been trash talking. You say, you know what? I'm putting his ass in the basket, and you done dunked on somebody.
Oh yeah, definitely. So many people. Like I can remember me and Twan having real battles, and Antoine Walker wasn't even my matchup. Like just because his personality and the way that he played, he was a showman. So
yeah,
would come down and stutter step and cross you, and then shimmy on you, and then like turn to the crowd and do antics to the crowd. So I can remember one time me and Twan like just going back and forth, arguing, talking. Twan dancing all on my team and hitting shots all on my big man. I got a steal and Twan chasing me on the break. I went behind my back and went up to try to dunk it. Twan swings his arm and like try to slap it over my head. I brought it down and reversed it on the other side backwards. The whole gym took off. Running back down, Twan said, man, if you ever do some shit like that to me again, boy, I kill you. And I made it. Like, I remember that, bro, to this day. I remember that to this day, man, when I felt like Antoine Walker accepted me for who I was. Because at the time, he was the man at IIT.
Yes, sir.
Tim was kind of getting older and like dying down. And Antoine ran IIT. Like, it was a lot of other killers there. But that was Twan gym. That was Twan tournament. So, you know, just for him to acknowledge me, man, at that point, and I still remember to this day, man, Twan said, if you ever do some shit like that to me again, boy, I'll kill you. and it just felt like, man, a acceptance moment, man. And just, man, I wish people could see IIT. They don't understand how tough that was, man. Like, they see these programs now in the Drew League and the Rucker, bro. IIT, man, was somebody needed to record that, man. It should have been in the books, bro. Like IIT wasn't nothing like that, man. And I'm glad I got a chance to be a part of it. One of the acts that ran through it.
Well, you know, that's a great segue to my last segment. As we continue with rapid response, I'm gonna throw out some names. Some of these are from IIT, and some of these are just Chicago ball players. Give me one word to describe it. All right. First name, Sco Hayes.
Sco Hayes, man, a smooth scorer, man, small forward. Man, Sco Hayes had to be about $190, boy. He ain't weight nothing. 6'6", 6'7". Played at the University of Nebraska, man, from out west, man. One of the good dudes, man, and somebody I still keep in touch with and look up to today. Cool. One of the OGs of Chicago basketball. He made his bones playing MJ at LeClaire Courts and several other places, man. Sco Hayes definitely one of them killers and one of the legends. He in the books in Chicago, if you ask me.
Cool. Kendall Gill.
Kendall Gill, man. Rich East or Rich Central? Kendall Gill, Rich Central's finest, man. A certified pro, man. Lifetime pro. Still one of the best dudes I know to this day. Still in shape, probably better than me to this day right now, man. And just a great guy, man. A better person than he was a basketball player. He was a hell of a basketball player.
Yeah. You touched on one of the names on the list a little bit earlier, but Carl Harris.
GQ, man. That's my guy, man. That's like the mouth of the South, man. He like the if you watch wrestling back in the day, he'll be like Bobby the Brain Heenan or somebody.
Yeah.
He's the promoter. He's the guy he the go-to guy. He know everybody, man. He was a player. He was around and he played against everybody. But as far as like one of the icons and one of the legends of guys who wasn't pros and off the court guys, man, Carl Harris, aka GQ, man, is one of those guys, man. So he definitely in the books, and he a legend in my opinion in Chicago as well.
Yeah. One of the names you touched on earlier, rest in power, Brian Leach.
Man, hurt my heart to this day, man. One of the best players I ever seen, ever, period, of anybody. Any guard, anybody. He was 5'11", 5'10", to be generous.
Yeah.
Maybe 160, 170. He wasn't super quick. He wasn't athletic. He just was really good, man. Like, I never seen, they called him the weapon where I was from. Like, man, Leach was one of the early guys who showed me that you could be a pro without being a pro. Like, everybody knew Leach, and he never played a day in the NBA. He went to a super small school in Omaha, and everybody knew Leach, man. So Leach is a, I would say, a mentor, a role model, an icon, one of the guys who definitely did it for me coming from the neighborhood I came from.
Michael Herman.
Man, one word I could say about Michael Herman is just ultra talented, man. At his peak, at his prime, people don't understand how good he was, man. I saw him score 61 points on Randy Brown at IIT. And out of that 61, he might have had 50 on Randy. And this was NBA champion, defensive player of the year, Randy Brown.
Yeah.
Michael Herman was a 6'3", 6'4" guard with a hell of a crossover, man. Yeah. And the thing that separated him from me early, Mike could shoot. I wasn't a shooter. I was a slasher, mid-range guy, kind of like Dwayne Wade type. Michael Herman could shoot, bro. Like, he was so smooth, man. And I just wish that, he could have lived up to his full potential, man. But people who know, man, Michael Herman was one of them dudes. He a King legend, transferred from Hales and with the King, played at Indiana University under Bobby Knight. Got in some trouble there and he had to leave. But, man, Michael Herman is in the books, man. And you ask anybody who know, Michael Herman was one of them killers, man. So just potential, man, like a shooting star. I look at Michael Herman as somebody who definitely could have made the NBA, should have made the NBA. One of those talented stories that it's 1,000 of them everywhere. A person who killed pros and should have made it, but just people don't understand that it's a lot going into being a pro. You got to be a pro off the court as well.
Yes. And
that was some of the problems that Herm ran into, man. But good brother, man. Good brother. I still talk to Herm, man, and still keep in touch with him. And definitely, man, one of the killers, man, in Chicago.
I say that's one of the more underrated guards that come out of Chicago. Michael Herman, Mark Miller. There's some guys that come through Chicago.
Malik Gibson. I could go through a list of underrated guards who were killers who never got the shine that they deserved. Sid Banks.
Yes, sir.
Westinghouse killed several pros. And this would be a whole nother topic, but man, Donald Whiteside from Leo played the Toronto Raptors with the Northern.
Yep.
Chicago, so many stories of just people who had the game and had the skill. It's just off the court things that got in their way and stuff like that, man. But we definitely full of it, bro.
Well, you know what? I want to be mindful and respectful of your time, but I would love to have you come back to talk a little bit more about some of those things, because you got stories to share and people want to hear them. I'm looking at some of the comments. I'm looking at some of my direct messages.
I love part of the platform, man. Anytime you need me, we got information on each other. Anytime you need me back or on the show, bro, I love to use this as a platform to express our love for Chicago basketball and just basketball, period, man, definitely. And any questions anybody got or anything you need, I'm always here. You can run a few of them by me if you want to, and if not, we'll handle them when we handle them.
Yeah, we've gone through pretty much most of the questions, but man, this has been a great segment. I'm going to sign off now for our Facebook Live group. So people that are on Facebook Live, thank you for stopping by and checking out another segment of Straight No Chaser.
Everybody else, shout out, man.
Yeah, shout out Paul McPherson for joining me. We're going to sign off on Facebook Live. Thank you all for tuning in. Everyone stay safe.
Peace. Appreciate you, brother.